Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy. Can you hear me, everybody? This is the NoDQ review number 125, and I am Virtue, being joined by this elite panel of NoDQ. And again, it's the same as last week. Myself, Big G, Robbie Vice, and Aaron Rift. I like the Zelda shirt. Aaron, I'm going to start with you today. I always start with somebody else. So what's up, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Last week, things worked out nicely with StreamYard, and this week, simulcasting. We are actually on Twitter and Facebook as well as YouTube. So anybody out there watching this for the first time, this is the NoDQ review, episode number 125. We have a series of topics. We each give our thoughts on each topic, and we hope you like the video. If you do, consider subscribing over at youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. And for everybody else that normally tunes in, we got a great show tonight. We have a lot of interesting topics, and I'm ready to get started.
I see Michael Gonzalez said, let's go. Virtue has his sunglasses on. So I don't know if he thinks this is going to be extra explosive Virtue, rage Virtue, or I'll tell you the truth, it's because I have a migraine and that light up there is pretty bright. And if you want me to do the show tonight, this is what you get. So, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Robbie Vice, how you go? What's up?
Yeah, so I sat through all of AEW Dynamite yesterday, and all my hair fell out. So that's kind of where we're at with wrestling this week. Watching all of Raw and then this Dynamite, it's just about done it for me. But I know we have a lot of things to talk about. I'm really looking forward to a good conversation. So I just want to get rolling in this. I got my coffee and I'm ready to go.
Hey, you'll be proud of me. I don't have it yet, but I ordered a new microphone and camera because I do want to try to stream some games over on Aaron's Twitch, some wrestling games, but I can also use that for these shows, so you'll be able to see me better and hear me better. That's
HD Virtue. I love it. HD Virtue.
All right, Big G.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Got the COVID vaccination today, part 1. 28 days later, I'll get part 2 and see how that goes. Other than that, we had a bunch of wrestling, so let's get this thing started.
That we will. Aaron, before we start topics, you got any super chats? I see maybe one in there.
Yes, well, one of the good things about StreamYard is everybody can see the chat room and see if a super chat comes in, and Virtue can easily throw it over to me. Makes it a little bit easier than before when I had to put my finger up or whatever. And we can also send private messages to each other. There's a little private chat tab. So if one of us wants to vent about the chat room or something and we don't want to say it on air, we can go in there. But anyways, let's get this super chat up from Colin Andrew. And I very much appreciate the super chats from everybody. Colin Andrew says, cheers to the NoDQ review, Thursday night's finest. Thank you for that, Colin Andrew. And it looks like we do have a person in the chat room over from Twitter / Periscope, Elite Curry 522. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Virtue, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, let's start with this. WrestleMania 37 will be in Tampa Bay at, is it Raymond James Stadium? I never know the name of it.
Correct, Raymond James
I just know
Stadium.
It's Tampa Bay Stadium. And it looks like they're going to do 2 nights. Now, granted, they know we're going to still be in some form of the pandemic. They're hoping to bring some people in each night. I don't know what the numbers were, 25,000. Again, it's in a huge stadium that holds 80,000. So how is that going to look? But they're doing 2 nights again. And at least if it can be in the stadium, we'll get the big fireworks, the better presentation than last year's 2 nights. So what's everybody's thoughts here? And then 38 is going to be in Dallas or Arlington, wherever it's technically at. Yeah. And 39 will be in LA. So maybe then we'll have to see if we can get The Rock and Roman Reigns. But that's a couple of years down the road. Big G, kick it off. Thoughts, especially for this year's WrestleMania.
Yes, I'm intrigued how they are going to do WrestleMania this year. I figure they're going to split it up 50-50, have, a certain amount of people on night 1 and a certain amount of people on night 2. Now they are letting people in Raymond James Stadium already for the football game. And that is where the Super Bowl will be this year as well. So I think it's 25% capacity. It could be 50% capacity, but it'll be nice to see fans there in the WWE. I think this is what Vince wanted, more people in the crowd. I mean, Royal Rumble would have been nice too, but I think WrestleMania is the place to do it. I'm kind of surprised that they announced the next 2 WrestleManias already, but at least they got those in the books. Dallas, WrestleMania 32. You know, we had that one there, so it's cool to see them back there. And then hopefully, now that WrestleMania 39 will be in LA 2 years from now, we could possibly see The Rock versus Roman Reigns. They got a lot of time to prepare. The Rock can work out his schedule to put this in the books and finally get Roman Reigns and The Rock in the match that we all been waiting for.
And you know what, Big G? Good for Tampa Bay because they got kind of screwed last year.
Exactly, yeah.
So, you know, if this does work out with the 2 nights and they can bring in 25, 50,000 per night, I don't know. It all depends. That's still 2 nights, you know, times 2. I mean, some people are going to double dip and probably try to go to both nights. Actually, I think that's probably how the tickets will be sold, right?
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know. With the pandemic, Robbie, it'll give more people, you know, more reason for people to want to go out. I know some people on Facebook that follow NoDQ that are already planning trips to Dallas for next year. So that's maybe why WWE did this.
Yep.
So what do you think?
So, I mean, look, I think as long as they follow social distancing protocols, people are wearing masks correctly, people are being safe, I think this is great for WrestleMania. I would love to see fans back in there. And I think watching it from the COVID-free safety of my home, I'm going to enjoy that. It's probably not something that I would be willing to venture out and do this year, but I'm looking forward to possibly next year in Texas. Maybe I'll take a vacation out there. Maybe I'll take a vacation out towards LA and go see my first live WrestleMania in a couple of years. But look, yeah, they've shown with safety protocols and open stadiums, with the correct guidelines being followed, it can be done, and it's not technically a super spreader event. So we just have to see people adhering to it. Again, wrestling fans aren't always known for being the safest, especially in the WWE bubble. There is some older fans there who may not believe the dangers of COVID. But again, if they strongly enforce it, I think this is nothing but positive. We need to get back to this as the vaccines roll out. By the time this comes around in April, we could be in a situation where they might let even more people in. So we just have to wait and find out.
Do you think we get any Thunderdome type Trons in there if it is only a certain amount each night, maybe in between seats, or do they scrap that if they can just bring any amount of people in, or what do you think?
I think that would be a great idea to ensure that there's social distancing, is have some of those seats taken up by Thunderdome. That'll make it look full. And because we know Dunn and Vince do not want to see empty seats. So I would almost guarantee they're going to do something like that to make sure that the stadium looks as full as possible.
That would be so weird.
Right. I also anticipate probably some doctored crowd noise will still be pumped into that building. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. I really want to see what they do. So
yeah, me too. And the 2-night thing, I mean, heck, if all the Wrestle Kingdom fans get 2 nights, WWE fans should get 2 nights.
I'm going to drink the coffee to that of not sitting through an 8-hour day of WrestleMania. That's
right.
Yeah, as long as I don't do 2 8-hour nights for 16 hours.
God.
You
know what? Don't even bring it up. Someone's watching.
Probably would have to shave the beard too then.
All right, Aaron, what's your take here? I mean, you really were gung-ho about this topic. You thought it should have been our main event because it's the word WrestleMania, which is a huge brand for WWE. What do you think?
It's a pretty big story. The fact that 3 WrestleManias were announced in advance, which WWE usually does not do. I'm very intrigued to see how WWE pulls this off. We'll likely see something similar to the Super Bowl, possibly 25,000 people each night. And I think there's 2 nights, so WWE can have, 50,000 people between the 2 nights and make up for the fact that it's not going to be full. Could they possibly have more people in the building? I guess it depends on how things progress with the vaccines, and if the COVID numbers start to drop by April, it's always possible they could make more tickets available as we get closer to the show. But yeah, will they add Thunderdome screens? That sounds like an awful lot of work to make that happen in that stadium. There's just so much space, and it just sounds like so much manpower to make that work. Or will they just dim the crowd so you really cannot see a lot of the crowd and see the empty seats? They might do that. I am curious to see what they do, but even 25,000 fans, it'll be nice to have the WWE universe back, even if it's just for these 2 shows. Now, there is talk about WWE possibly having shows after WrestleMania, going back on tour again. I feel like they may continue to do the Thunderdome for the time being until they can do full crowds. This WrestleMania thing might just be for that weekend only. You know, they're talking about doing the Hall of Fame possibly as a virtual event. I think they're just wanting to make sure WrestleMania has that WrestleMania feel this year and they can make up for last year. I'm disappointed about California not getting WrestleMania for 2 more years, but it's understandable. And I think that it's for the best. And I'm pretty sure they'll have a full crowd by then. Next year in Dallas, probably, but nothing's a guarantee at this point. I am looking forward, though, to WrestleMania and how WWE pulls it off from a technical standpoint, for sure.
I was at 34 and 35. Well, I heard an echo. I'm not going to go this year, but I think I'll go to Dallas. If the pandemic's over, I think Dallas would make a nice little trip. So maybe I'll be there. So I can start planning ahead because that's why WWE announced them early. What do you think, NoDQ Galaxy? What are you looking forward to? The 2 nights for this year's WrestleMania? Let us know in the chat. All right, next topic. It's bringing back one from last week, actually our main event. Dun, dun, dun. Guess what? It's not Adam Pearce versus Roman Reigns. It's Kevin Owens, and I know a lot of people don't like that because Kevin Owens got beat up. I heard a lot of the people in the business, the workers, the wrestlers that I follow and follow me on Twitter. Adam Pearce deserves a shot. They really want to see him wrestle Roman. I get it. Longtime NWA fans wanted to see Adam Pearce wrestle. I don't know what's going to happen out of all of this. Is Adam Pearce now just going to kind of sit back and watch, or will he get involved? Will he be a referee? Will we get a swerve? Will he turn heel and end up helping Roman, which I did that little bold prediction on Twitter. Rod Weiss, now that we know it won't be Adam Pearce, and I know you wanted to see that match.
Yeah.
Go for it. What's your take?
I'm a little disappointed, to be 100% honest with you. I think from a story perspective, the Adam Pearce thing was more interesting because it's something we've never seen before. I've seen, KO versus Roman Reigns. We've seen KO get beat up week after week. He's been doing the dumb baby face things. They did a lot of buildup, and it seemed like it was more of a letdown. I think if they were going to have a secret opponent, it should have just been someone maybe debuting with the company or something we haven't seen before to be more interesting. But, we have what we have. So do I think there's going to be anything swerve? I'll go ahead and say no, Virtue. I don't think that your prediction will come true in that. We'll see. But I think we're just going to get a straightforward match. Pearce may just, do something to hurt or trip up Roman, or he's going to have the referee in his pocket, and we'll find out ahead of time that he told the referee to, don't call it for Roman. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter because whether it's Adam Pearce, whether it's KO, Roman Reigns is still going to win the match. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yep. And the reason why I say that is just because we haven't had a heel authority figure in some time. And WWE, that's been like the big part of their history. So I feel that someone in the office is getting that itch to have some condescending boss out there every week. And it's setting it up now. Granted, is it going to happen? Who knows? Aaron, what do you think here? I know you wanted to see that match as well.
Yeah, I did. I was a little bummed about Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens because I wanted to see Adam Pearce in there. I was ready for it, but Kevin Owens is in the spot, and not really a surprise. I think we all pretty much expected Kevin Owens to come back and be in the match, which is fine, but I'm not expecting a title change. I expect Kevin Owens to lose for the 3rd time. Unfortunate. I would have probably not done a 3rd Kevin Owens match with Roman Reigns, but they're going with it. I would like to see Nakamura versus Roman Reigns. I'd like to see Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. And I'm hopeful we'll get a big match for WrestleMania, but we'll talk more about that next week when we do our predictions. I guess we could potentially see Kevin Owens win the title, but I would be really surprised. I just don't see Roman Reigns at WrestleMania without the championship. I think he has to be the champion. Now, he could lose and then win it back, but I just don't see him losing. Again, we'll talk more about that as we get closer to the pay-per-view when we do our predictions. But yeah, I think it'll be a really good match. Just not as exciting as something different like Roman Reigns versus Adam Pearce, in my opinion.
I think it's going to be one of those cases where everybody's saying that, and then once if they do something like a little different, we're going to all be like, wow, we didn't expect that. And that's why I like to be bold, and I was picking the Adam Pearce turn. But again, it has to be properly executed. If it's just done to be done, no good. Big G, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I was looking towards this match as well, Pearce versus Roman, and I kind of figured Kevin Owens would be there. I just didn't think he would be there that night. I figured something would happen right before the match at the Royal Rumble, and Kevin Owens would replace Adam Pearce at that time. But, you know, it is what it is. We're going to see it for the last time, hopefully. We could possibly see Apollo Crews interfering. You know, Roman was talking with Apollo last week on SmackDown. Sonya Deville could interfere, and align herself with Paul Heyman. I think that would do tremendous things for her. Obviously, Jey Uso will interfere. I could see at some point. Maybe Jimmy Uso is ready to come back, and we could see him potentially interfering. Or, it's just a straight-up last man standing match, and Roman gets a clean victory. But we know WWE, they will throw some kind of, I guess, a swerve in there somewhere, and having Roman win, like the heel champ he is.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
What Paulo just said in the chat there, I think it would have even been way better if Pearce would have announced a returning Seth Rollins to start a feud with Roman Reigns going into the Royal Rumble. I think that would have been way better. Again, I have nothing against Kevin Owens. I very much enjoy him. It's just, I just feel he just doesn't feel like a main eventer to me right now. And I know, Virtue, you and I have talked about that. There's not a lot of main event choices, but
no,
I don't know. I mean, do you think they could have or should have built him up maybe better leading up to this instead of just having him get beat up every week? I mean,
well, I feel that, like Aaron said, Roman's got to be taking the title to Mania. So, I mean, we're at the point where whether it's Pearce, Rollins, Owens, I got that. We have that feeling that it's going to be Roman over. So, and I get it. Well, okay, KO, it's been done. Pearce is something different. So if we're going to keep the belt on Roman, let's see at least him work another type of style of match, because everybody knows Adam Pearce is, scrap dog and, scrap daddy, old school, that kind of a wrestler. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, people want it. Maybe they'll be heard if people tweet about it. Maybe WWE will still make it happen at some point. It'll probably be on SmackDown, though.
Yep.
So we'll move on. Another piece of WWE news that was a little interesting to me. Of course, I know sometimes I pick topics that bore Aaron. We haven't heard or seen from Jason Jordan in a while. Now, we know he had a severe neck injury. He was in that god-awful angle with Kurt Angle's My Father, trying to build him up as the next Olympian wrestler because he had that look. But let's go back. What was his most successful time in wrestling? NXT with Chad Gable as a tag team. I'm very sick of WWE not taking their tag division seriously ever. And it would be cool, at least if he did come back, so he could work lighter because, we don't know how much he can do with this neck injury. If he is in a tag match, then he doesn't have to do as much, and Gable can carry him for a while. Let them go for the tag titles, and maybe we can start getting some actual tag teams again. But somebody's got to make Vince McMahon care about them. So what is everybody's take on this? And again, I'm interested because if he comes back, maybe we have some great tag matches because him and Gable were an awesome tag team. And what was their big feud in NXT against the Revival? I mean, yes, the Revival's not there anymore, but I mean, come on, WWE. Big G.
Yeah, I liked American Alpha, especially in NXT. And then they came up, they won the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. They had a nice little run, and I believe they lost against the Usos at the time. And then they split them up, like you said. And they had that horrible, crappy storyline with him and Kurt Angle. And that was pretty much the end of his career. Now, it's been a couple years since we've seen him wrestle. He could be healing up, doing what he needs to do. They have this technology to fix something like that nowadays. But with the whole tag team thing, WWE doesn't seem to care about the tag teams. They just broke up Nakamura and Cesaro, just randomly split them up. And they've just been breaking up tag teams for like the past year and a half now. And yeah, they keep the major tag teams together. You still got the Usos and whatnot. and it's crazy. It's ridiculous. They need to focus on their tag teams, and really make that a hot division in the WWE again, so they can compete against AEW, because AEW has some great tag teams right now.
Yeah, because how did Shorty G work out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, now I guess he's teaming with Otis now or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, they break up these tag teams though, so I get it. People are like, "Oh, there's no way he's coming back to do that," because they break tag teams up. Well, maybe that's a thing Vince McMahon loves, is to break tag teams up. So why not put them back together so he can do it again? You know how I'm always thinking of how Vince McMahon can rib people. Yeah. But Robbie, what do you think here?
So I agree. I think that I would love to see him come back, and the best way for him to do that would be in the tag team division, because he doesn't have to carry all of the workload. And Gable can go. He's probably one of the best workers outside of, and he sells like, as good or better than Dolph Ziggler does. He makes people look great. And, Jason, he could do all the work, and Jason Jordan could get those hot tags, come in, and get the win every week. But I think American Alpha and the Iconics are just catastrophic tag team splits that I just didn't really see necessary to happen. Vince obviously hasn't seen money in tag teams. I can't remember the last time tag team wrestling was really a focus. I mean, honestly, the last big tag team focus was back when we had the New Age Outlaws, the Dudleys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian. I mean, it's been almost 2 decades since we've really seen that. Man. And it really, nothing against the New Age Outlaws, but the work rate wasn't the reason that they were pushed by Vince. It was because they were selling merch and they were entertaining, and he was making money off them. So until we could see a tag team come and show Vince that they can make money, we're not going to see it. But man, if FTR is not going to get over in WWE and make money, I don't know. I mean, maybe American Alpha can, but who would they face at this
Robbie,
point?
They had one, but because I think of backstage issues, it blew up. Enzo and Cass made them money.
Yeah, 100%.
And it blew up because of probably the backstage attitudes and everything we heard. And that was unfortunate, but and that was when the Hardys came back too.
Yeah. No, I agree. Actually, I would love to see Enzo and Cass make a return. It's just, I know there's bad blood with Enzo, and Big Cass just keeps having some relapses in his personal life. But if he could get that stuff under control, they make money. I mean, they were the #1 merch sellers up there with the New Day for quite a while, if I remember correctly. So, and he made 205 or the Cruiserweight belt popular. People watched it. So
and I still to this day believe he was going to put Gulak over after all of that thing he did. But again, that's a with Cass, Big Cass, that's a DDP thing. Like, he needs to get a hold of that guy and straighten it. Yeah. He's great at that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll have a happy story later on. Aaron, want to add anything about Jason Jordan potentially returning soon?
Well, there is a super chat here from Richard Morales. He sent in $2. Thank you for that. He says, if Old Man Sting can have a match, Jason Jordan hopefully can. Well, the difference is Sting, he's, the icon, and if he's going to come back for a match, there's money to be made. If Jason Jordan comes back, I think it would help Chad Gable's career. I mean, it's probably the best thing that could possibly happen to Jason Jordan as far as his career goes, because you would have American Alpha, as everybody said, they could come back, have some great matches. If Jason Jordan is healthy and gets cleared, he can go. And he would be an asset for Jason Jordan or Chad Gable and the tag division in WWE. But if he's not healthy, then there's really no point in bringing him back. With Sting, you can use the smoke and mirrors. He can live off of the name. But Jason Jordan is about having killer matches. That is what brought Jason Jordan to the dance. Sting is different. Sting is like a personality. But yeah, I'm hopeful we do see Jason Jordan again, and him and Chad Gable can reform their tag team. And hopefully they would get a big push, and WWE would not just drop the ball with them 2 months into the run and break them up again or something.
Yeah. Thanks. That was somebody in the chat said it was American Alpha, and look, they even had some great matches against the Vaudevillains, who basically died on the vine in the main roster. But in NXT, they were kind of a decent deal there for a while. So we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to talk about, we usually don't do this on the show, but Impact. But of course, it's married to their relationship with AEW, which is, rumored to be brought on because of Kenny Omega wanted to do it. He's friends with Don Callis and so forth. Will Tony Khan really buy the company? Will it be storyline, or will it be a shoot? Who knows? But we had Hard to Kill over the weekend. The main event was Rich Swann, Chris Sabin, and Moose because Alex Shelley could not compete, so the Moose took his spot. And they lost to Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. Now, of course, the Good Brothers are part of Impact. So for a second there, I was thinking AEW won the match while Kenny Omega's in AEW. But so, what's everyone's thoughts there? And I believe it was Impact on Tuesday. Or is it the Impact that's coming up? Hardy and Private Party are on Impact. So they're starting to try to do this thing a little bit more. Obviously, when Angle first happened, Aaron, they had a lot of stuff already taped for Impact, so maybe it couldn't work out right away.
Right.
Just in general, is Impact any intriguing at all to you guys because of this? I know we've talked about it before, but now we've got to see maybe where this is going. So, Robbie Vice?
Is Impact Wrestling intriguing to me? No. I will watch Impact Wrestling if the Good Brothers or Kenny Omega show up with that Don Callis storyline. I will watch it if we can see that sweet, sweet Kenny Omega Don Callis painting, which is just
Cardona's there now.
Okay.
You know it.
Right. Well, I'm going to say this, and this is something else I was crucified for about 2 years ago on the review. I don't care about Zack Ryder. I don't care about his gimmick. I just don't. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So no, look, I know there's people out there who love Impact Wrestling. It's their jam. I think it's a good training ground to get into either AEW or WWE, because that seems to be what most of their talent does. Unless they're a veteran going back there, kind of like the Good Brothers are. Look, they're a farm system for the bigger dogs. And I think the way Impact and AEW are working together is kind of like when Major League Baseball partners with a minor league team. They're going to help them out. They'll send some guys there from time to time, but they're basically using them as a farming system. And that's my stance on that.
Let me ask you a question. I thought you had responded to the NoDQ tweet about Matt Hardy saying that he saved Impact Wrestling from going out of business. We're assuming he was talking about the whole broken universe.
Yeah.
What did you reply to that? Share it with everybody in case they didn't see it. Didn't you put a tweet out?
I said it was probably true. Yeah,
so Robbie believed, and I know you're not the biggest fan of that type of that.
I'm not, but you know what? But see, it's different. I wasn't a fan of it when he did it in AEW, and I think a big part of that is because there was no fans in attendance when he came back. That's a big part of it. But when I heard that Matt Hardy was a vampire biting people in the crowd, doing crazy stuff, the Broken Universe was just out of control. I was intrigued, and I watched some of the Impact Wrestling when that happened. So, it got me to care enough to at least even watch replays of it. Whereas now I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch replays of it if the bigger stars are there. So look, Matt Hardy, outside of his current iteration, I'm not a big fan of what he's doing right now with Private Party, but Matt Hardy, when he's let off his leash, like he was there and he just had free reign, he was very entertaining. And I think that iteration of the Broken Universe in Impact was the best iteration of the Broken Universe. I don't know if he can recapture it, but I think that single-handedly kept that company afloat.
Well, they had the right people in place too. Jeff was there with him. Rebby was on TV. They were going against Abyss, Crazy Steve. I mean, it was just a great little Halloween
perfect
type
storm
of thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Aaron, you suggested that we kind of maybe talk about Hard to Kill earlier in the week when you were trying to get us to do the review Tuesday, and I had to look twice down when you said that with your history of TNA. You want to add anything to this topic right here?
Well, I'm mildly intrigued now that we're seeing Private Party and Matt Hardy come in. I thought that was all right when I watched those segments. I was like, okay, this is not bad. It's something. Tony Khan's out there being Tony Khan, and
dude, I love Jerry Lynn's stone face. That was the best.
Yeah, I know you have
not
your
stoned,
opinion.
but like just no expression, Jerry Lynn. Awesome.
Yeah, you got your own thoughts on Tony Khan and whatnot, but I want to see more back and forth. I want to see some Impact guys on AEW, not the Good Brothers, but I want to see some of the guys that could potentially be elevated from being on AEW Dynamite. Some of the guys that have potential in Impact Wrestling, but just haven't really done much of anything. Let them come onto AEW and make a name for themselves. That's what Impact Wrestling needs, because right now they feel like so beneath AEW, and Kenny Omega pinning Rich Swann doesn't help Impact Wrestling. Chris Sabin losing to Private Party doesn't help Impact Wrestling. So if you really want this interpromotional angle to reach its full potential, Impact needs to feel like more of a major league promotion.
Yeah.
And so far, I don't think they feel major league. They still feel like this very low rent company. And Tony Khan's even like, I could buy this company and they're so beneath me. I'm doing this as a favor to them to give them some eyeballs and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think Impact needs to take a stand here. I'd love to see the Impact guys actually show up at AEW and do an invasion. Like,
is Shamrock still on with Impact?
I believe so, but I want to see some of the younger guys. I want to see some of the younger guys come in and like beat the crap out of the top AEW guys and do like an ambush or something. So AEW and Impact can really feel like they're at war. Right now,
that's
it doesn't
the angle.
feel like that to me.
Tony Khan gets attacked by Ken Shamrock. You want to be part of the business. You want to get in that ring. Let Ken Shamrock throw you around like a rag doll, and then your AEW roster has to come to save you. That, to me, would be awesome money. And then maybe I would take a step back and give Tony Khan some slack, because then he can be considered one of the boys. All right, thank you for your input there. Anything else before we pass it to Big G?
Yeah, and we do have at No Surrender, we have a tag team title match. We have the Good Brothers versus Private Party, which I guess Good Brothers will win, and it will be a win for Impact Wrestling, although the Good Brothers, like, they feel more like AEW guys than Impact Wrestling guys at this point in time. Like, they feel like they should be on AEW and not Impact.
Yep, we'll have to see where it goes. Big G, have you been paying attention to any of that stuff?
I mean, I have on YouTube. I'll catch the clips and stuff like that and read the stuff on Aaron's website. But, I mean, I really haven't, like I said before, I really haven't been big on Impact in the past 10 years or so. With this whole invasion thing going on, I'm kind of intrigued to see where it goes. But give me Sami Callihan versus Eddie Kingston, or Callihan versus Moxley. Have some other people from Impact go to AEW and vice versa. I mean, we saw Hardy and the Private Party show up on Impact last night. But have, like you said, Ken Shamrock is a great example. Have Sami Callihan, have some of the knockouts from Impact go to AEW and boost up the women's division over there. Aren't they having some kind of World Title Eliminator thing on AEW for the women's title now? Yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, so you brought that up, and there's a comment from Wesley Vaughn on Facebook. Says, I think the ladies of Impact need to invade the women's division of AEW. I definitely want to see some of the Impact ladies in this tournament that AEW is doing. AEW, their women's roster, not too strong, and some would argue Impact actually has a stronger women's division. So yeah, I'd love to see some of the Impact Wrestling stars, the female stars, get in on that tournament. Go ahead, Big G.
You know what would be money, real quick, to throw this in there? I think if you could get Tessa Blanchard in AEW and have her show up on Impact, the heat and the ratings that I think that could draw would be money.
I would like that. That'd be cool.
Although I give the over/under on her going to WWE over anything else, but that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Isn't Taya? Isn't she? Her contract with Impact is done, right? So she could end up in AEW, but she'll probably end up in WWE with Johnny Boy over there. Other than that, I'm kind of intrigued to see where this leads to. I think we have the Good Brothers in a 6-man, in 2 weeks at that bash or the beach show in AEW again. They need to, like I said before, they just need to switch it up a little bit, have other people show up on each other's shows and not the same people. Because then it'll just remind me of WCW versus WWF WWE back in the day in that crappy invasion angle.
Aaron, here's how Impact can get one up on AEW. They can send Josh Matthews over there to do commentary and boot out Tim Ross or Tony Schiavone for one show. Dude, because nobody likes him doing commentary. That would be great. Anyway,
that's cool.
I had to say
Ouch.
That's
Ouch.
Anyways. So Wednesday Night War time, since we're talking about Impact, which has to do with AEW, which bumps us from Tuesday to Wednesday. So there's a few things here. Sting's going to be in a match. It's going to be a street fight, so we know he's going to have his baseball bat. The other 3 guys in the match, Darby Allin, his partner, versus Starks and Brian Cage. They're going to do all the work, right? We know how this always works. So thoughts on that? Robbie, and I'm going to start with you. There were some things on Dynamite. Chris Jericho just looking his age, and Brodie Jr. still on TV getting. And look, I loved the tribute that night. It should have been all over. I know you had your opinions on not watching it. I was totally fine with that, but my fear was a continuation of this kid on TV for a feel-good story, like exploiting it. Now, if he's backstage having fun like this and the cameras are taking footage for a future Brodie Lee DVD or whatever, I'm fine with that. Backstage off of TV. Like, he can have his fun. They can make him feel good. But I don't know, man. What's your thoughts in general of the Wednesday Night War? Did you catch anything on NXT?
There's no Wednesday
Night War. I know there's
a
lot here. We'll be talking about this for 10 minutes.
There's a war of like 1.1 million people who switch between the two brands, and that's what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Jericho looks really bad, and I agree. What Aaron said on his stream. You know, I've been watching AEW at least for the past couple of weeks live. I took a little break a while back, but this was most likely the worst episode of Dynamite that I've seen so far. There was a tag match that had just a couple of just blunders. You know, as Jim Cornette always famously says, they were trying to put a hat on a hat. They just do things for the sake of doing them. A lot of these guys are green. And I think one of the biggest problems they have right now is Tony Khan wants to keep everyone employed through the pandemic. Their roster is gigantic. They have a lot of really talented guys, and they have people who maybe shouldn't be on anything but AEW Dark. And that's not a slam against them. It just means they're not ready.
Yeah.
My thing with -1 is I hate kids. I don't want to see them on TV. I hate kids.
It's all kids. Like you just said, all kids. So it's not like you're being funny. Yes. Okay.
I like in person. I like kids. Kids are hilarious. They're funny. I'm saying like in my media, Star Wars Episode 1 sucked because it had kids in it. Right? When they tried to put kids in Star Trek with Picard, I hated that too. There's so many examples. Like when Braun Strowman won the tag titles with a kid, I thought that was stupid. So when I see a kid, regardless of who it is, regardless if it's his birthday or not, on the flagship show for like the third or fourth time now, beating up wrestlers who are selling for him, I don't like it. I don't want to see it. I feel like it's borderline exploitation for feel-good ratings. But look, it's the kid's birthday. If this is the last time we see him on TV for a while, I'm going to give it the pass just out of respect for the family. But I don't want to see him on TV on a regular basis. Put him on Dark, put him on the Being the Elite, whatever. Let this kid have a fun life. Let him be backstage. Let him grow up in that environment. That's fine. Give the family money. Tony Khan gave him a contract. He can go to college. That's fantastic. I don't want to see it on the flagship show anymore.
So I take it you aren't a fan like of Arnold Schwarzenegger going from Total Recall to Kindergarten Cop.
That's a little bit different because they had that kid from the 90s who was the bad kid in like everything he did from Full House to whatever. That was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Kindergarten Cop was great. And that is mostly Arnold, but I don't like most children outside of Stranger Things. I thought those kids did a great job, but it's just, I feel like a lot of times, and I'm just going to use that Star Wars Episode 1 as my main example. Kids should not be on TV.
Now back to Jericho. I thought he was method acting for the longest time. Now I'm starting to get concerned,
my friend. Look, Jericho, I think he could still hit those lion salts. I think he still has some stuff in the tank, but I think that the tank needs to put more gasoline in it and put less cheeseburgers. And I know that's pot calling the kettle black here, but I'm not taking my shirt off, thank God, and going on TV to wrestle and try to do lion salts. So look, Jericho, legend. Don't like him as a person, but I think he has a lot left in the tank. I think he has a lot more to provide. I think this is a misuse of Chris Jericho at this stage in his career. He should be a main event attraction. And look, we talked about it last time. Go back to his New Japan days. What made Jericho popular again was he changed up his gimmick. He was serious. He had the face paint on. He still wasn't in the best shape, but it's just the way that he performed, the way he carried himself was that of a main event legend. And now he just feels like he's trying to fit in with this younger generation. And I think the inner circle's run its course. It's time for MJF to take that over. Jericho needs a change.
And in early AEW days, when he first won the title, it carried over a little bit of that New Japan stuff. And then, when 2020 hit, maybe he's just got pandemic dad bod. But great input there. Great input there, as always. Big G, follow that up.
Oh, geez, man. I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing with -1, hopefully this will be the last time we see him on TV. Robbie put it out the best, have him on BTE, have him on the backstage clips, have him in the audience,
Sure.
have him in the audience, and maybe occasionally do something with him, but not all the time. Like I was saying before we got on the air, it was hard for me to watch AEW Dynamite last night. Usually I can watch the whole thing through, but he's like, you know what? I DVR it, so I'll just finish watching it today. I did. And that 6-man or that triple threat tag team match with the Inner Circle, I don't know. Jericho is doing the best he can. I mean, he is getting older. He is a rock star. He's just letting his body go. He doesn't really care anymore. I think somebody wrote in the comments he's just collecting a paycheck. And I think the intercourse has run its course. When I thought they added
the intercourse,
when I thought they added MJF and Wardlow in there, I thought that was just too much. And MJF should be the leader now. Jericho should be a face. We've mentioned it time and time again. People are singing along to Judas every time Jericho comes out. And what else? Oh, Sting. Yeah, Sting. He'll do his thing with the street fight. Have a couple hits with his baseball bat. Hit the Scorpion Death Drop, Scorpion Death Lock, and pretty much that'll be it. And I'm sure Darby Allin, will do all the more crazy stunts and whatnot. And other than that, yeah, we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with AEW.
Big G, is Sting going to get the win in that match, though, to make up for the 2 times he's jobbed in WWE? Do you think he's going to be the one to win, or do you think Darby will actually get the win in that match?
I think Darby will get the win. Sting will do most of the work, and then Darby, because it's a street fight. So,
I think Darby will do most of the work. He'll take most of the punishment from the other two, and Sting will save the day at the end.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron Riff.
Colin Andrew.
Yeah.
All right.
Over to you, Aaron. Have at it. Wednesday Night War.
We have a €2 super chat from Adrian. Thank you, Adrian. He says, Y2J's main goal is to outweigh giant haystacks. There's a reference right there for you guys that remember giant haystacks.
When he wears his jeans and his shirts and stuff, man, it's all sucked and tucked, and he doesn't look that bad. But when he's in wrestling gear out in the ring, it's just like.
Well, it's because he can't suck it in when he's blown up like that.
But anyway, Aaron, go ahead.
The stuff with Chris Jericho, I do think it's time to get moving with this storyline. And I think MJF needs to have Jericho kicked out, Nation of Domination style, when The Rock kicked out Farouk, and have Jericho as a babyface, the legend winding his career down. MJF's the young lion. And I think Jericho needs to slowly start wrapping it up as far as his career goes. He probably has another year or 2 in him, but I think once the pandemic's over and he can go back to doing Fozzy, he should probably focus on that and take a break from wrestling and come back maybe every once in a while as a special attraction and not be on television every single week. I think that would be the best way to utilize Jericho in the next couple of years. Now, as far as Sting goes, I'm not surprised about the match announcement. I figured it would happen. I'm guessing it's going to be cinematic style, and he won't have to take any bumps. And if there are any bumps, it will be Sting, i.e. somebody wearing the costume and face paint, a stuntman basically taking a bump for him. They could very easily pull that off in a cinematic match, and that's what I expect to happen. The Cody Rhodes, Jade, Cargill, Shaq. If Shaq's going to wrestle, let's get moving towards it. Otherwise, this is also taking too long to play out.
It really is. I forgot to mention that.
Get off the can, as the saying goes. So, yeah, like I said, not the best AEW Dynamite. Maybe the worst. It still wasn't a bad show, in my opinion, but it was weak by AEW standards. As far as I'm concerned.
I liked the fight pit more than the tag team match at the main event.
Yeah, that was what I said during the stream. I thought that fight pit was awesome. But yeah, not much competition here. The numbers pretty much staying in the same range. Both shows did do better this week, which is good, I guess, but still nothing to really write home about, although AEW's demo was very high. So for those of you that say the demo is end-all, be-all, AEW is doing pretty good. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat going back to earlier. Thank you, Psycho Jet Black. He says, I'm just glad Rich Swann, that scrub, is not wasting AEW airtime with his status as a jobber. I hope Moose crushes that bug and becomes champion.
Wow.
I hate to say it, but you're right. Like, Rich Swann doing the job to Kenny Omega. The real star of that match, other than Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, was Moose. Moose looked really good in that match, and Moose is the guy I would like to see show up in AEW and lay out some of the AEW guys, whether it's the Young Bucks.
Moose versus Cage.
Yeah.
There you go.
I want to see Moose get in the mix and make a stand for Impact Wrestling, and that's how you can elevate Moose and take him to the next level. But I feel like when you see Moose and Rich Swann, they had a face-to-face segment on Impact this week, and Rich Swann looks like a little kid.
He did. I saw that.
And Rich Swann is the world heavyweight champion. It just doesn't work. Moose looks like a star. So, yeah, I think they need to merge the titles and make Moose the undisputed world champion and get him in the mix with the AEW guys and get him on Dynamite for the sake of giving Impact some credibility. And hopefully we'll start to see some things pick up as far as the storyline goes. Because right now, I'm kind of intrigued, but I really feel they could be doing more with this.
And you know what I just noticed? Like, we just barely talk about NXT these days, and it's lost that luster that it used to have. Now, I know the diehard fans that watch it, it's still the NXT matches, but I almost feel no crowd hurts maybe NXT more than anybody else because that's always been their staple. And Aaron, you know I don't like it because there's no heels with an NXT crowd, but that I think no crowd has hurt, and to me, like watching it on TV the most. And I'm the one that said I wish it would go away, but it's become so much part of their show. I forget about NXT with no crowd. It just and I know a lot of those wrestlers got called up. Karrion Kross got hurt. Keith Lee got called up. I mean, there's different other variables too. But am I crazy in saying like it's not appealing? But
you're
maybe
right.
I'm neglecting it for no reason.
Well, you know, I agree with you on that, and I feel that can also apply to AEW because both shows, the crowds really made those shows. Like the crowds were so enthusiastic for these guys, and they would get behind everything that if something really wasn't that good, the crowd could actually make it seem better than it actually was. The funny thing is, I think Raw has probably been hurt the least because remember back when we had crowds, half the time they would be dead by the second hour. Like
Corpus Christi crowds, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them would be like Corpus Christi crowds, and it's like that made the show seem really flat when the crowd was not reacting to anything. But if you turned on NXT or AEW, you had these fans just going nuts for everything and reacting like this was a red hot product. And, you know, it's all about the illusion of something being bigger than it actually is. And when people would turn on TNT and you hear these rabid fans, you're like, well, geez, this must be a hot product. Listen to these people. And you don't have that right now. And I think the main roster, you know, with WWE piping in the chants, I think it's almost made up for the fact that there are no fans.
Aaron, let me ask you this real quick. I think at least watching a year ago to now, basically without fans in attendance, I think it was a lot harder for them to get used to cutting these promos and doing things. Do you think that a lot of these guys, when they get back in front of a crowd, it's just going to be so much better because they're used to doing it and getting that basically no feedback to change that to getting all that emotion back from the crowd? I think this is going to improve a lot of guys on the mic and promos and just the match quality in general.
No, I agree with you. I think that this was probably a good thing for the wrestlers to be able to work without a crowd and figure out how how to make the matches work, and they don't have that, so they have to do something different. It's forced them to be more creative in what they're doing, both in the ring and on the mic. So yeah, I think it definitely helped their skill sets once we do have fans return. Absolutely.
Well, nice discussion there as always for the Wednesday Night War. I'm sure we will do this again, but it's main event time. And you know what? I put Alexa Bliss in the main event. Now, I just realized with this whole new thing that she's been doing with Bray Wyatt, because we know, when she was in NXT, everybody talked about the Four Horsewomen, not Alexa Bliss. She was more like a manager. She ended up winning quite a bit, like even more frequently like than Becky initially. And she was getting a lot of, championships and pushed on the main roster. And of course, over time, she's a small girl. She got a lot of injuries, some concussions. And this whole new gimmick, it's really saving her. I know that's probably one reason why Bray Wyatt's doing this Fiend gimmick, because he had injuries quite a bit, and it can kind of preserve him on TV. And then she wrestled Asuka, and the way they did it, I was just so intrigued. Robbie instantly said she's a favorite now to possibly win the Royal Rumble. And it's November. Man, I got ahead of myself. It's January, and it's Royal Rumble season, Aaron. So that's why I was like, we can't talk about WrestleMania in the main event today. We'll kick off the show with that. We got to talk about, to me, Red Hot Alexa Bliss, and she might be carrying Bray Wyatt in the Fiend right now, and just everything she's doing. So I just want everyone's thoughts, especially with the match with Asuka, in which she went over. Yes, you can say it was part cinematic because they had to do the cutaways so they could change her look and everything. But I was like watching that, and I did not turn the TV off. I was literally, usually I'll watch Raw and I'm playing a video game, looking at my phone. During that match, everything was down. I was looking up at the TV. Big G, you want to elaborate on that? I'm intrigued by this.
Like I said, the past couple of weeks on this show, on my show, this has been the best Alexa Bliss in the past couple years. I do pretty much the same thing. I'll be on my phone when I watch Raw, but when it came to the segment with Alexa's Playground and this match with Asuka, I was 100% focused. I like the cutaways. Like when I first saw, I was like, holy crap, I was like, cool. They actually can do something different and, have her with her hair down. Next thing you know, her hair's in a bun, 2 buns, got the black lipstick. And then at the end of the match, it cuts back to where, her hair's down, she's all cheerful and happy. So WWE is doing something right with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss right now. Have her win the Rumble and face Asuka.
She beat her.
She beat her.
It was through a gimmicky split match, the way however they produced that.
Yeah.
But
so they might make this match for the Royal Rumble, and then Alexa might lose, but then she'll win the Royal Rumble at the end. Just like Becky lost to Asuka 2 years ago, and then won the Royal Rumble. So I like what they're doing. Keep on doing what they're doing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a Joker and Harley Quinn.
Joker and Harley Quinn thing. I said that last week. I couldn't make it. There's no really other comparison that I can think of than Joker and Harley Quinn. So,
Robbie Vice, you said did you say she's winning the Royal Rumble?
It's pinned at the Robbie Vice. You can see it's my pinned tweet right now. Alexa Bliss is 100% winning the Royal Rumble. And have I had any hot takes on this show? Have I said anything crazy yet? Because I'm about to. Alexa Bliss is the best female character that has ever been in professional wrestling right now. I can't think of anyone who's been more intriguing. This does everything right for her. She's great in the ring. Her only knock is that she's smaller. How does she beat people bigger than her? But now she has this paranormal side to her. She's different. She's out there. She's crazy, right? So if she could tap into this different power, that literally gets rid of her only weakness. She's fantastic on the mic. She's a great character actor. And again, this is the best female character, the best female gimmick. And honestly, I would say this is one of the best gimmicks in wrestling, period, right now. So I think this is great. Alexa Bliss is a main event. I think she would pull in more viewers right now than even Ronda Rousey virtue. I think she is up there. I think people are more interested in this than they are anything else right now. Because if you look at Raw, I can sit there like you, man. I could have my Nintendo Switch out. I could have my laptop. I could be on my phone. But if the last month or so, when Alexa Bliss is on TV, everything goes down, and that's all I want. That's all I care about. And it's not even the matches. It's just like, what is this character going to do next? And I cannot wait for the Fiend to come back, because I think he's going to come back different and changed. And man, this reminds me so much. I have the same feeling with the Alexa Bliss stuff right now as I did when Paul Bearer first started teasing Kane. And I get the same type of vibe from it. What's going to happen? And I can't stop watching it. The best thing
I feel like it's saved the Fiend since he lost to Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, because now Alexa's this new entity. And yeah, you know, she's had titles and lost the titles before, but now is this? She's 1-0, right? She beat Asuka. I mean, it's a whole new. It's like it's what they screwed up in the Fiend. They can save with Alexa Bliss. That's what I'm getting.
The biggest problem we had with the Fiend after a little bit is we felt that he was overexposed. When you show him too much, it loses some of that magic. But now the Fiend can be present every time Alexa Bliss is on there, because we associate her with the Fiend, and he shows up now. It's going to be crazy. Maybe she'll summon him when some things go wrong. We don't really know how this is all going to play out. But all I know is after Goldberg beat the Fiend, I felt really disheartened about that entire situation and his character. But that has all been revitalized now, because Alexa Bliss gets to act as a manager, which she's fantastic at, and she's a performer who's going to win the Royal Rumble and going to win the title at WrestleMania. It's a win-win for both of those characters.
Yep. Now, Aaron, I'm going to pass it over to you. Eric Travis in the chat says, Virtue, why not talk about Randy and how he's affected all this? Well, everybody knows I said Randy was the best wrestler and performer of the pandemic. Nothing's really changed with that just because it's 2021. Yes, he's in the middle of all this. Aaron, you want to take this away?
Yeah, I think Robbie made a lot of great points about Alexa. She is well on her way to being maybe the best female character in WWE history. I was surprised because she won the 2020 NoDQ Year-End Award for Female Superstar of the Year. That shocked me. I thought for sure people were going to vote for Bayley or Sasha Banks, and Alexa somehow won it. Yep. And that just goes to show how much she resonated with people in that short period of time that she was doing that character. Now, some people in the chat room are saying she's not a draw. Nobody's a draw right now in WWE, really, other than perhaps Roman Reigns. I'm sure Virtue would say that for sure, and I agree with that. Roman, I think, is keeping those Smackdown numbers above 2 million at this point.
Yeah.
Alexa, it's going to take time. You know, she's on the rise, so you keep building her up. Keep in mind, Steve Austin, he did not turn the ratings around overnight. It took almost a year of Steve Austin on top before WWE could beat WCW in the ratings again. It took them a while to get those numbers up. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you keep pushing Alexa Bliss, make her the star of the brand and legitimately a star, you go all the way with her, you put all the chips on her, you bet on her, I think she could be the star of the year, and like Virtue and Robbie said, maybe the best character in WWE history as far as the women go, and maybe one of the greatest men or women characters in WWE. I love
Eric, when was the last time there was something on Raw that made you want to watch the next Raw? I mean, at least just for one segment. Alexa's like the first thing in a while that I can remember.
Yeah. And I love what they're doing with the character. And again, because of the size, she has to make up for it. So you play the mind games with people. You do that. And I think it's fantastic. And creativity wise, I'm really enjoying it. Now, we do have a $5 super chat from The Game Is On 100. He says, my fear about Fiend mode Alexa is she will be tough to beat. Even Shayna, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, Ripley won't have a chance. Well, they should have a chance. The idea is that they could potentially beat her, but you want her to be dominant. If you're going to push her as the top star, she needs to be this dominant entity that is virtually unstoppable. But you want to build up the other women too as credible threats. And that's why you have them win matches and you don't do the 50-50 booking. You protect those other women. You have them win against lesser opponents, enhancement matches, and you build those contenders up for her, and you can maximize their potential and maximize Alexa Bliss as a superstar. But yeah, this should be Alexa Bliss's year unless they somehow mess it up, which, yeah, they very well could screw it up. We're not
Goldberg
shocked.
beater.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Fridge.
Well, the female Goldberg. Who's the female Goldberg?
Rousey.
There you go.
I don't know. Anyways, any other chats there? Well, you know how this works towards the end of the show.
Yeah,
We're
we end up going into overtime. So everybody's going to do their plugs here. Virtue, did you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
I mean, Alexa Bliss, this is what I watch. I am interested. If there's one thing on Raw, I'll tune in for to wait. It's now to see her. And yes, everybody knows I'm a big Bray Wyatt fan, always have been. So I do want to see his success. I don't like when people crap on him and say he doesn't have good matches. I mean, that's a bunch of BS. I mean, come on. Look who's trained him. For what he's done in WWE, he's had plenty of good matches. Just because he got booked in a couple bad, finishes, you can't fault him for that. But Alexa Bliss, to me, is saving what WWE crapped on The Fiend with the Goldberg loss. And so I'm intrigued to see where it goes each and every week. And go Alexa Bliss. I mean, some people were saying Bianca Belair should win the Royal Rumble. Well, we'll get into all that when we do our predictions coming up here. But Robbie, that's interesting now. I mean, I want to see the Women's Royal Rumble match because Alexa Bliss is in it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, there you go. Let's go around and do our plugs. Big G, I'll start with you, Big Blue.
Yes, NoDQ.com/BigBallerG takes you to my Twitter page, NoDQ_BigBallerG1988 on Instagram, Jeff Phillips on Facebook, and check out my show, The Gridiron Grapple, every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube page. Just type in Jeff Hiltel, and you'll find it there.
Thank you, Big G. All right, now I see a super chat, but Aaron's going to have to wait till it's his turn. So, Robbie Vice.
All right, guys. So I want to say a couple of things here. You need to follow me at the Robbie Vice. I know in the past I've said don't follow me. And I know in the past my Twitter has been full of lots of random stuff, politics, different things. I have done a complete wipe on my Twitter page. It is 100% about wrestling. I want to talk to you guys. I want to engage with you guys. I want to know what your opinions are on Impact. I want to know if there's indie matches, New Japan Pro Wrestling. What should Robbie Vice be watching? How can you change my mind on some of my views? At the Robbie Vice. Looking forward to getting some more followers. I am criminally underrated. I post a lot of funny stuff. I'm great. So give me a follow.
He didn't want to have NoDQ in front of anymore because it was too close to me and the Virtue and the Vice. So he's more like at the Vince Russo. He wants to be more like that. So that's why it's at the Robbie Vice.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Aaron Rift.
All right. Well, Paulo Lambchop says this went quick. Wish it was longer. Great show, guys. We appreciate that. And we do have a super chat here. So anybody wants to super chat, we'll keep it going for a little bit longer. Johnny Boy sent in $5. Thank you for that, Johnny Boy. He says, do you guys think it's going to be The Fiend and Randy Orton at WrestleMania? Can they stretch it that long? If so, what do you think they will do with Edge? I wonder if they're going to do it at the Royal Rumble or not, but I guess we'll find out on Monday. It does feel rushed if they do something on Raw.
Orton declared himself in the Royal Rumble, so I don't think they're going to do anything. I mean, The Fiend might show up and cost them the Royal Rumble, but I don't think they're going to do anything until WrestleMania.
Yeah, I feel like the Rumble would be rushing it. I could see them delaying it until WrestleMania now. And like I've said before, I want to see Edge against somebody else.
Yeah.
Other than Randy Orton. I'd like to see Edge maybe win the Royal Rumble. I'd like to see Edge versus Drew McIntyre for the championship. I think that would be an awesome match. Or Edge versus Seth Rollins if Rollins is still a heel. There's a lot of options. AJ Styles. There's a lot of different matches you can do with Edge. Robbie Vice, any thoughts on Edge?
No, it's not even Edge. If you look, I know we're going to give our predictions next week, but I already told you who's winning the Women's Royal Rumble, and Brock Lesnar is winning the Men's Rumble. I mean, they have this story with Heyman. They have Reigns. They want the biggest names possible. Yeah. That's spoiler alert. Brock Lesnar and Alexa Bliss are winning the Royal Rumble.
It's not a spoiler.
And if anybody else wins the Women's Royal Rumble, I hope it would be Ronda Rousey returning. But again, that's a far shot. I'll
tell you what. I'll even go one step further. For both the Women's Royal Rumble and the Men's Royal Rumble, if someone other than Alexa Bliss or Brock Lesnar wins their respective matches, I will buy one of my followers at random a shirt from NoDQ.com.
Thanks for reminding me. I got to send TJS his shirt. I forgot. I owe him a signed shirt.
No, that's right.
One of these.
Debate King. I love that
Yes.
shirt.
Oh, yeah. NoDQ.com merch, by the way. You can get shirts there. So, all right, Aaron Rift, I'll close the show. You got any other things? I think that's it.
All right, so yeah, I will go ahead and just quickly plug the NoDQ Twitch channel, which is over at twitch.tv/NoDQDOTCOM. I'm doing some NoDQ CAW related videos on there. Stay tuned for more. I was talking with the color commentator for NoDQ CAW, Wade Needham. We might have him on a future stream. And Virtue was talking about possibly doing some streaming over on the Twitch channel, maybe doing some WWE, Battlegrounds 2K?
Battlegrounds. I'm gonna start with the Switch because that's gonna be easiest for me. And since it's a wrestling channel, I'm gonna go Battlegrounds because not many people like that game. And so I'm gonna try to sell it to some people here. We'll see.
I enjoy it. So,
and of course, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. And we'll be back next week for predictions. And stay tuned for the latest. And make sure you guys subscribe and tell a friend. Please spread the word. Take care, everybody. Stay positive and be safe.
Oh, by the way, are we still on?
We're still on.
Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue, the Troll Slayer. And I'll promise you'll have a great time over there. You never know what you're going to get with me. It depends how my day goes. And then NoDQ.com/Virtue takes you to my Facebook page. But most importantly, NoDQ.com. You got news, you got opinions, and you got features. It's all there. It's like GeoCities' 1998 website, still ticking strong, longer than any other website that I know of with wrestling content. So make sure, NoDQ.com. So for Aaron Rift, for Robbie Vice, for Big G, I am Virtue. This has been the NoDQ Review 125. We will see you next time.